Welcome to the Seattle Sports Union podcast. This is Matt, the damn dirty duck again, hosting today, and joined by my good buddy, the Soulman, Brian Solack, and we have a very special guest today. We have the Seattle Sea Dragons number 88, Jordan Veasy, and thanks for joining us. Want to say hi?
No problem. Don't forget to add Cal Bear in there since we got the Oregon Ducks and the Wazoo guys in here, the Pullman guys. But yeah,
oh
man,
no, you have something to answer for a touchdown pass that you caught against my Ducks.
Which we'll get to.
Man, we'll get to it. One of the funnest. I love playing in Austin. Austin is a great place. I wish everybody could play in Austin. I remember it was just like yesterday. So yeah, we'll get to it.
Right on. Right on. Before we talk to you about your career and playing with the XFL this year and the upcoming football games before we take home the championship, I want to ask you about your former teammate Chris Smith. Care to share about Chris Smith? He just passed away recently.
Man, what it was a whirlwind of events. It really caught us by surprise and blindsided. It's crazy because I have an actual unique relationship with Chris. I actually played with Chris beforehand. Me and him played together in Houston in 2021. So me and him were teammates, so I knew him on a personal level. And actually, I had seen me and Chris actually spent some time together like a week before. And our last time together, me and Chris, I could say that I really appreciate it. It was me and him were in Bible study together. And so we were at Bible study at the team hotel back in Dallas, man. That was the last time that's the last time I physically seen Chris. But great man, great guy. And I think just for us, we're still kind of a little bit numb to it, so it's like, because we're still in the whirlwind of things, and being able to go just, in this business and doing what we do, we still have jobs at hand to do it. So it's like, times where it's actually a relief at times when you can go just and play football and stuff. You don't think of the realities of life at times. And crazy happening, but also, like we all know, is a part of life. And Chris is a great man. And just praying for him, his family, and his loved ones, and his close ones. And we have them in our hearts, and we're right now, we're playing real hard for him. So yeah.
I got to ask this too: are they going to put out a jersey, or is there something where the fans can donate to the family or anything? Do you know of? Or?
Not that I have heard of as far as anything specific in that case. I can ask like Randy and all the guys about that. But jerseys and everything too it's a lot of weird stuff going on with just buying and the memorabilia stuff this year. I think they're kind of behind on things of that nature. So I think they're kind of still trying to figure those out. I can, ask around as far as talking to our liaison and director, just ops, and he probably could give me an answer on that. So hopefully so, but to my knowledge, I don't know of anything specifically. Yeah, I know we were on Zoom today. He had his funeral, his service today, so we were all watching it as we were traveling. So that was kind of a heavy thing that we were dealing with today. So yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss. Sounds like a wonderful guy, man. I want to ask you about your childhood. You grew up in, pronounce this right, Gadsden, Alabama. Is that correct?
Yeah, Gadsden, Alabama. Yeah, you got it right, man. Yeah.
What was it like growing up there?
Man, it was great. Like we were speaking earlier before we got on, man, it was a great foundation for me. Small town. If you could think of a place, and I can just give you a depiction of it to where maybe the whole world would kind of be able to compare it to. If you've ever seen Twix, MTV, like 2000s, very much so.
Okay.
In that nature, big time football city. Was actually really cool. I grew up a kid in the school system. My mom was a secretary, so I always grew up being at the high school. So I would always see the athletes while I was young. So it was cool to be able to get that kind of depiction of, like, those guys, great football players, great basketball players, great baseball players. It's cool to be able to see them every day. So they really inspired me, especially as I now grow up now to thinking about it and being able to reflect on it. Like, man, it was always right in front of me, the things I wanted to be. Those were the people that were very celebrated where I'm from. A lot of guys are really good at sports where I'm from, and they get out and they go to big places and big schools. So, man, yeah, just a small town place that loves sports. Really, really competitive. A lot of talent that comes out of just the nucleus of where I'm from. And man, it's been a huge part of molding me and shaping me competitively and also as a young man, and also today, just being able to keep myself grounded, and also be a young kid from Alabama to be all of the places I've been. So it's been, yeah, it's a great small town that, you know, it holds a near and dear place in my heart. But yeah.
Outstanding.
Mhm.
A little birdie told me that you were an excellent baseball player growing up. Number one, is that true? And number two, how
Yeah,
could it go that
that's
route?
funny. Man, a growth spurt, actually. Yeah, a growth spurt, a big growth spurt. Actually, yeah, I grew up playing baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport. Played shortstop and second, and I played baseball all the way up until like my junior year, and then up playing all sports again. In my senior year, ended up playing football. And at some, I think I was like that junior summer, I was like 5'8". And
Okay.
then going into that senior when I was like 6'3". I had always played football growing up until middle school, but then I just focused on baseball, you know, in my first years of high school, and then ended up going out and playing ball, and kind of fell back in love with it, seeing how
Okay.
good I was at an early point to be able to, you know, just to kind of give some more insight on where I'm from. You know, my school is a place where a lot of guys get out, and we're heavily recruited by some of the best schools in the nation. And I was able to go on these places and these recruiting trips, and also these places to compete against the best. And I was holding my own. And so those kind of were the things that kind of flipped it for me. And just seeing, like, I think everybody just kind of sees and knows what they can be and where they see themselves and how far they're going. And when I seen it and I thought about football, it was like limitless for me. So I was like, man, I can, I seen how good, I knew how good I was. I knew how good I could be with the right work ethic and all those things. And so when I was able to put two and two, I was like, man, that's the route I want to go. And it's been a great decision ever since, man. I really love ball, and just, so yeah, but baseball is and was, it was my first love for sure.
That's awesome. Matt and I are the baseball experts of Sales Sports Union, and it was great to
Yeah.
hear that you enjoyed baseball. So right on.
Man, yeah, I loved it. It's crazy too. It's grew up a lot. It's like, this is a cool little story, too, little tidbit, because being a guy from Alabama, I actually stay in the Pacific Northwest now. I stay in Portland. I
Okay.
live out there and I train out there. Been out there for the past year and a half. Me and one of my great friends, he's like a brother to me now. Brandon Cooks plays for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
He's me and him were teammates in Houston. So me and him trained together actually in Portland, and then tell people all the time, tell this a little crazy. So just like little tidbits you get, man. I think I was it was probably middle school. I think early middle school, we were like a game and a half away from going to the qualifiers for the Little League World Series. So we're at this big like regional tournament state tournament to go to nationals. End up losing, but it was crazy because my dad at the time, we were at this little banquet thing, and he ended up winning me a jersey. It's funny, I tell this story all the time because I've been to a lot of Mariners games as I'm in Portland, which I hope Portland can finally get a team, but maybe when they expand it, we'll get what. But for now, I settle with, I just drive up to Seattle and go to the Mariners game and check those guys out. But my dad at that time, he won in a raffle a game-worn Ichiro Suzuki jersey, and Ichiro was my favorite player at the time. So I have his like game-worn 2004 All-Star Game jersey that my dad won for me. Didn't even know at the time as a kid where even Seattle was or how to get to Seattle. But I always had this jersey, and then couldn't even, it was huge at the time because I was a little kid, and I was like, man, I'll never, what I'm saying? But I knew it was Ichiro Suzuki, so I kept it and I put it up, and it was crazy just to kind of rewind and then go fast 4 years later, and then I'm an Alabama kid who ends up in Portland and going to Seattle Mariners game, and I have a game more Suzuki Ichiro jersey. So it's crazy how just stuff goes and just kind of pans out. But that was a little cool tidbit that I thought about earlier to myself, like, man, it's crazy just how stuff is so particular and how you can kind of just life, and it takes you and it whips you around and gets you to places. So yeah.
Amen to that. Right on.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite athlete growing up who was an inspiration to you? It can be football, baseball, whomever.
I really loved Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was like heart and soul. Just I loved him and everything he was about. I've always been just a prowess. That's one thing I would say, just of particulars, just of greatness in general, no matter what form it comes in. I always loved Derek Jeter growing up. I wore Jordan cleats specifically because of Derek Jeter when I was playing ball.
Nice.
That was another one. Oh man, but my biggest two was for sure was Kobe, and then Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds was the one who really, and that was, I had an infatuation with Barry, and I was like very, very, also very protective of Barry. So even at a young age, even though I didn't understand everything, I just was very protective of, Barry dealt with a lot in his career just for people saying this and those other things. But at the end of the day, you can't teach hand, you can't enhance hand-eye coordination. So, what I'm saying? Anybody who ever played baseball understands and knows that, it's like, hey, look, that's one thing you just have to be born with. That's a gift. You have to have that eye. And so that people don't get the actual nuances of what's really hard to do in the sport. They just think, baseball is a different one in particular. But yeah, those three for sure. Those three when growing up were very, very huge. And Emmitt Smith was my football one. My dad loved Emmitt Smith. And I wore number 22 growing up all the way up because of Emmitt Smith. So I had a good little dichotomy of like greats that I really loved and looked up to. And a lot of it was because of my dad. And me and him loved watching sports and doing stuff together. So yeah, those were my guys.
Very cool.
So what do you love most about playing football, I guess?
For me, it's a little bit in particular. What I love the most about it is mainly, it will sound cheesy, but it's the process of it. And my process has been very particular. Being a guy where mine kind of started a little bit later, I still have I have a really big obsession with football. I still feel and I know that I haven't reached my full potential and peak. So I'm in a different space and place with it. So the process of it has been the funnest part. Because like every time I get to go out there and I get to perfect my craft more and more, I see myself, I get better and better. I find out new things. And it's cool to be able to think about it because, none of those things surprise me because, I feel like only we can see it, no matter what you are and where you are and whatever it is that you believe in. Only the person that you are inside of you knows how good you can really be and how good you are and how good you will be. So that's my favorite part of our football. I love the competitiveness of it. And I also just love the nuances of it. I've always been, just as far as just watching the game from afar, I would say that I don't think it's something I should say about myself, but I have been called savant as far as when it comes to football. I love football. I watch it. I've always been around sports, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's been cool to be able to analyze those things. And when you're from big sports places, like from the South, it's kind of like inbred in you, you know what I mean? So it's like, you see these things, you watch these things, you know these things more than the typical person would who doesn't care about sport. You get what I'm saying? Because when it's in your culture and where you're from, it's like a part of you. So, man, but I would say that's the most thing I love, the process of it and just my personal process and just seeing how I'm being able to mature, how I've been able to perfect myself and, just craft and chisel away at being the best receiver that I can and football player that I can be. So, yeah.
Nice. After high school, you went the community college route. Was that for a year? Is that correct? Okay. How did that
I ended up
you?
going to. Man, I loved it. Man, that's when I think that's when the transition started for me personally. That really, really benefited me. Now, it was a big sacrifice for me. I was on my own, doing things on my own, and then funny story, but my junior college coach ended up talking to him on the phone. Never had met him, and he told me he wanted me to come out there, and so kind of just went on just a leap of faith, just in trust in him, and then was out there only for really 4 months. So I was out there for 4 months because I was an early graduate guy. I had my grades and stuff ready, and then I ended up playing really, really well. And but loved it. Was able to add another element to my game as far as coming from one place in a culture of how they played, and then going on to another. And so I think that was really the start of it with me, and just being able to understand that side of football. And man, it was great. Love Golden West. Love Huntington Beach. Still go back to this day, man. And so it's a great place. It's always going to be held near and dear to my heart. So yeah, but junior college was great for me, and I know that's not the case for a lot of guys. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. How did you end up at the University of Cal?
Man, it's crazy. So story kind of ties into it though. So before I went to junior college in Huntington Beach, I was at a junior college in Mississippi. Ended up the coaches that were at Cal were actually from the South at that time. So Coach Dykes and all those guys who are now at TCU, they were there. They were at the helm at the time. And the coach, Jacob Peeler, was my recruiter at Cal. And funny, but he had previously been a coach at the community college that I was in Mississippi before I went to junior college in California. So the coaches ended up telling him about me. And then ended up, he found me there, and me and him had such a great relationship that I hit it off with him, and I knew instantly, just as far as I could trust him, and I knew he had my best interest at heart. And I kind of shut down my recruitment early. I had a great junior college year. I probably could have ended up going back home if I wanted to. Probably I was close to getting offers from like Auburn's, Alabama's. I was in real close talks to those guys, but I went to Berkeley and I fell in love with it. And hence, I knew why I love Portland to a sense, because it's kind of a similar, like, melting pot liberal space. So it's like, end up going to Berkeley, man, and loved it. Had never, never heard of Berkeley, never knew, as far as just like I remember my coach telling me before I went up there, he was like, because he's actually from Northern California, the head coach at Golden West, Coach Nick Mitchell. He was telling me, he was like, yeah. He was telling me, like, you're gonna go visit up there. They really want you. He was like, telling me, hey, it's real trippy up there now. Just, be careful. And he gave me like that tidbit. That time I was like, yeah. I was like, okay, I hear you, but had no idea. So, and it's crazy. Just another nuanced thing. It's like, just little stuff that, how life just shows you little hits and tidbits. Like, I was a huge San Francisco Giants fan at that time. Had never even knew how to even, or always seen Barry hitting, home runs out of AT&T, hitting them over into the water. Always thought and just like I wanted to be there. And it's like, man, now I'm in a place where I can do those things. It's kind of like my whole life had prepared me for these moments. My whole, what I'm saying, as far as like, it was crazy because too, I was also always an outlier kid. Like when I was growing up, now none of us liked them, but when I was growing up, it was the era. I loved USC. I really wanted to go to USC as a kid. It wasn't really Alabama or anything for me at the time. I don't think they were at their height yet, but it was USC. So I was like really infatuated with SC. It hurts me to say that now because none of us like USC as Oregon and Washington State. Well, that's one thing. That's one thing we all got in common for sure. Nobody likes SC as far as, so we all cover and band together against them. But yeah, man, I always kind of had those just like, just like West Coast, just like pulls and urges to me. So it was cool to go to Berkeley, man, and be able to see how particular of a place it was. It's a true bubble. A true bubble, because like once you go outside of it, everything gets a little different. It's like, it was cool to see that. And then also the opportunity of being able to go and play Power 5 ball at a high level, and be able to be honed as a receiver even more, and also the opportunity to get a great degree. It kind of just checked off every box. And I had been used to, I kind of got used to being out there on my own and just being independent. So like it worked out perfect. And I had a circle of people who I could trust, and Coach Peeler and all those guys. And ended up being a great decision, man. Cal and Berkeley has a special place in my heart. So yeah, that's how I ended up getting up there, man.
Awesome.
What'd you major in?
American Studies. So I was going to first go through business through Haas, but because I had too many credits already, I had to go through American Studies. So I ended up getting a business degree through Haas, basically, but through American Studies. And I actually loved going through American Studies through Berkeley because it was so inclusive. I learned so much. It actually ended up working out great for me because I love history and stuff. So I was able to get the gist of that, and also be able to go through business school at Haas, one of the best business schools in the world. So that, and also too, just being in American Studies. I don't know if you guys know this. We might get to it later, but I met somebody real particular at Berkeley that ended up coming back and being a part of my life and my story later on. And that was Colin Kaepernick. So I met Colin there actually. So yeah, so that was cool. So be able to have something that happened there, and then me and Colin ended up being in a workout together, and that kind of was like a huge moment in time to be a part of that with him, and we both shared that commonality. So Berkeley is a special place like that. It can bring together things in such a natures, and it's just a cool place to be able to be in. So yeah.
It's also not a bad place to get a degree if you get hurt or something. Not a bad fallback option,
Yeah, it ain't too bad at all. No, that was a part of the decision, the decision making in the process. They definitely went into it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was your impression of Coach Dykes? I mean, now he almost won a national championship here.
Almost, yeah.
I guess we're in April right now, so what, like 4 or 5 months ago? But yeah,
4 or 5 months, yeah.
But what was your impression of him?
Love Dykes. It was cool because it was a kind of peculiar situation. Everybody was from the South, but we're all in a different place. You know what I'm saying? That kind of all of us were adjusting to. And but we still kept kind of, some of our core values and what we believe. So it was really easy. And we had a lot of guys from the South actually on that team that kind of came in there as a good mixture of guys. Usually you got a West Coast school, you got mostly West Coast guys, and some guys from other places. But we were pretty, had a pretty good split. But no, man, Coach Dykes was a great coach. It was cool to learn from him. And then also just to be able to understand like how he looked at offenses and stuff, and far as guys he had coached, and being able to kind of be under his tutelage. But no, Coach Dykes was great. That staff was really good with Coach Spav. Coach Spavital was actually there at that time. So we were in a true air raid. He had came from at the time, I forgot where he came from, but we were really, really, really throwing the ball around. And he's there back now, actually. So it'll actually be fun to see what they do this year with him back at the helm. But no, Dykes was great leader. It was cool to be able to be on his tutelage for that 1 year, and then having Wilcox come in next year. So, yeah.
You mentioned Colin Kaepernick. I was going to talk about him later in the show, but while it's fresh in your memory, tell us about your relationship with Colin Kaepernick.
Man, Colin's like a brother to me, and it was cool to be able to be in a situation where we could both help each other out. And especially coming from a time where, we met just in a simple space of just being in class together, which you wouldn't even expect him. But yeah, we were in the class together. So, it was great. And it was cool to see how the connections were always there at the whole time. So when it came about and opportunity presented itself, at that time too, if we fast forward a couple of years before that work, I was back in Alabama training and stuff. So Atlanta's only like an hour and a half away from my hometown of Gaston. So it was nothing but a skip and a hop. And man, ended up hearing about it, then ended up getting my people in touch with him. And then we ended up just going from there. But our relationship is great. We still talk to this day. And then actually ended up seeing him too this past time. Last time I seen Colin was in Vegas with the Raiders when he had a trial there. So I was there with him and talking to him and stuff. So, but no, me and Cap have a great relationship, great guy. Love everything about him. And just, yeah, it's cool to have to say like he's a part of my story and I'm a part of his. So, yeah.
That is awesome. Appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
I think I also want to ask one more question about Colin. How is it to catch balls from him versus other quarterbacks? I mean, have you noticed? I always notice his accuracy coming out of college.
It gives me good confidence, and that's something I have to always reiterate to myself. I play with some great, I've caught some balls from some good quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? And then so it's cool to be able to have that under your helm and be like, well, if I can catch with these guys, I catch them. Because Colin also has a big arm too, so and he can really throw it down the field. So yeah, it was great. Now Colin has a more of a, I've had this conversation before, very straight line ball, which I like, and I don't mind quarterbacks who put some oomph on the ball. I feel like those are a little bit easier to catch. The tighter the spiral, the easier it is for me to get. I have big hands, so it's easier for me to catch it. And if it's already in that placement, it doesn't really bother me. Some guys don't like the heat as much, but great straight line thrower can throw on the run. That's I actually like too. Can give you balls where you can throw on the run and be able to keep going. So yeah, man, it was fun. It was great, and just to see. I think that was one of the funnest parts to see this. And that's a cool part about playing football. You kind of get to show your stuff and the other guy gets to show his. You kind of see like a little, because, the quarterbacks and receivers, we're connected at the end of the day. Yeah. And so it's like, it's cool to see, I don't know, like just like a first day basis or whatever, throwing the ball with somebody, how you kind of get those nuances down. You learn guys, you see how it comes off their hands, the velocity of it, where they release it, how the ball, how long it stays in the air and stuff like that. So but it was great catching with Colin. One of the best arms I've thrown for sure.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated about the relationship between the passer and the catcher. It's like in baseball, I always like to ask the pitchers about the catchers and the relationship, the dynamic there too as well.
It's huge. Yeah,
it can really make a difference. But I'm kind of on the topic here of technique and the craft. I have to say I pulled up some of your highlights from Cal, and I want to say there was like 30 catches where you have this absolute ability to know where your toes are at all times. And also about a certain XFL catch you just made last week that we'll talk about in a little while. Is that something you really drilled for? Is that something that you naturally just kind of know your spatial awareness? I mean,
I think that just comes with, just constant repetition with it and always being conscious of those things and being mindful of it. And then also too, just the importance of making a catch. I want all my catches. So, and it doesn't matter what level. And it doesn't matter what level. I've always prepared myself to be at the highest level. So even in college, I would always, make things to try to be 2 feet in with anything I'm doing. It was just something that just was innately drilled in me. And so, yeah, I was to just touch on the catch this past week. I talked about it, but I've made a bunch of crazy catches in my career and in my lifetime, just over time. That was probably top 5 in-game catches for me. Even in that one too, if my upper body stays up a little bit longer, I get an NFL catch because my leg hits first and then my leg hits right after my toe drags. So I think I've kind of struggled with that here in the XFL because the rule is 1. But even on the balls that are thrown, I can't stop myself from trying to get 2. So it's different time, it's different jumps. Catches are a little bit harder than they should have to be sometimes, depending on the balls. If I'm just trying to get 1 in, it's just I can't not try to get 2 for me. that's the biggest thing. But yeah, man, it's like that's just something that I've always, and that's a skill that you develop. You know what I'm saying? It's just being able to and I think it comes down to too. What helps me with it the most is, and one of the things that are kind of just like one of my strengths and just helps me just from my foundation, man, baseball. Baseball helped me tremendously with track and footballs, hand-eye coordination. If I can track and catch, baseballs and just hitting fly balls stuff in the outfields or in the infield, I can definitely track a football. And just being able to not have to look at my feet or just knowing my awareness and also just being able to catch the ball, it's helped me tremendously just being the dual sport athlete and just how it's helped me in my sport today. So yeah.
I got to go back. I have one more college question. Back in 2017, you guys beat up on my Wazoo Cougars, who were ranked number 8 in America. I think we lost 37-3.
Yeah.
I hate to use this term because it makes me angry when I see it online, but did we coug it, or were you guys just a better team than Wazoo that day?
We got a thing for Wazoo. Every time we play Wazoo and they rank, it's like we always beat them. That's just been the conscience with me as I've been there. I think they came too in my senior year, they came and they were like ranked really high and we beat them again. I think I had some cool toe tap catches in that game, but yeah, I don't know. I guess we just got a thing with Wazoo when they come in their ranked. It's just always like I guess we got something out for them. But I love playing Wazoo, and I actually didn't. It's funny because I love playing in Berkeley too and playing in Memorial, but I love playing in the other places and stadiums and getting to see like how the other schools are in the Pac-12. I have never been to these places, so to go up to like Pullman, Washington, while I'm staying in Idaho the night before, I would never thought I'd be in Idaho or in Pullman, Washington. So it's cool to be able to see that dynamic and how much these people love football out here too. And I think that's the biggest thing why I love it so much and people don't get it because, I have a true a comparison to it. I'm from a place that really loves sports and football. And it's crazy. People think it, but when you get up to the like Pacific Northwest area, they really love football. So it's cool to be able to go in those other spaces and places where they, you can see the similarities and the parallels. These people, they really enjoy football too, just like the people where I'm from do. So it was cool, man. Wazoo had great fans. I think it was that one time in my junior year, it was a really, really cold game. We had the all gray uniform. And that was a fun game for me. I scored in that game too. So I love Wazoo. I had no problem with it. I have always had good games against the Cougs. So shout out and rest in peace to the late great legend Mike Leach, man, and all those guys. But Wazoo has always been a fun game for sure.
Absolutely. We're gonna definitely rest in peace, Mike Leach. He was one of my favorites. We're gonna move on to the NFL before we get into the Sea Dragons here. You signed on with Tennessee, I believe, after college. Is that correct? Okay. I mean,
yeah, I did. Yeah.
What was it like? I mean, I don't know how much PT they gave you, but I guess my question I'm trying to say is the XFL or even the USFL a good place for practice squad players or whomever to get experienced?
Well, from your perspective,
yeah, from your perspective,
I would say so, and it's also very particular. So in my situation, a guy where I've played in NFL games now, I've got that experience. It's cool to be able to come here and show what I can do with opportunity, and that's a lot of people don't get that as well. Like when you get to a lot of stuff with the NFL, it becomes where things money comes into play, roster spots come into play, all things come into the mix, and so to be able to show what you can do with the opportunity is great. And I think too for guys who maybe don't have any experience at all, it's good too to get your feet wet to then go to back to the NFL to then, show and see like, hey, I can play at this level as well. But yeah, for sure. I think the XFL, man, it made too much sense for me when I was considering it, because I was kind of battling with that, just thinking about it, because I was like, well, I knew I was going to get another shot. I could have, just sat and trained in Portland where I was. But then when I found out they were having a Seattle team, it just made too much sense. It was like, well, that's only 2.5 hours away from me. I can, what I'm saying? It's a seamless transition, and I can get to them, and I can already be getting my motor going and getting ready for OTAs and everything down the line. So also it's a good sacrifice in it. But like I said, too, I think when I just sat down and thought about the pros and cons of it for me and everything that I needed to do and I needed to put on film, it just made too much sense. But I think the XFO for sure is set up for that success. And I think, especially for, guys like me and my situation who have played, guys like Josh in those days, like Josh is out there showing like he at 31 years old, he still got it in the tank. You get what I'm saying? He can go help a team. And I think we have a team of a lot of guys who can say that. So I feel like, everything has been, really good as far as just having the opportunity to take advantage of it. And it's also been a good nucleus of football, and I think that's a big thing too. Has to be a good nucleus of football and football players. And I feel like this year we have that in this league. So it's been good to be able to go out there and show it. And a lot of the guys that we have and we'll see out there, you'll see them translate and be able to transition over to the next level, because that's how we run it here with the Seattle team. So that's been the best part about it.
Right on.
More specifically to your experience with the NFL practice squads, what's the biggest lesson you took away from that, from your experience among them?
Always just I learned how to be a consummate, like just a professional, just being able, you got to understand it is a peculiar situation because it's different, because I'm a guy who always prides myself on the process and doing what I do to be my best, even if I'm not playing on Sundays. So that was more of the struggle, the things that I had to deal with was like, really, really investing, really, really putting in everything into it and preparing like a guy who would be playing on Sunday, but wasn't. And also having to be ready at that beck and call for if it ever did come and if it ever did happen. And also just dealing with situations and times where team needs became bigger than anything. So it was like a time where, I maybe should have been playing or I couldn't play or wasn't on the practice squad, or ended up being cut from the practice squad because they needed something else that was more, urgent at the time. And people I don't think a lot of people understand the business side of the football side of it too. You understand too, I'm an undrafted guy, so I'm always going to have a tougher and harder fight. You get what I'm saying? So it's always going to be there. And I accept that. And I know that's what comes with it. But those are the parameters that kind of make the whole thing and how the situation can kind of be peculiar at times. But that's the biggest thing I learned about it, man, is just, keeping the main thing, and not letting the circumstances of whatever was going on hinder me from my development and my process to get better to when it was my time to play and go show that I was able to do that, because that's what it is. And so they don't, I just, they don't really care. At the end of the day, it's like, can you do your job? When the opportunity comes. And that's the biggest thing, can you get the job done? Because as you know, just people who just watch it and see it at a high level, man, those games, they mean a lot. Every possession matters. Every play matters. And I tell a lot of people this too. That's another thing I've learned. The biggest thing about the NFL is just not messing up. If you can go in the game and just not make mistakes, you can be there, because that's the half of it. The team who makes the least amount of mistakes is going to win the game. And so it's a lot about it. It comes to being a professional and also just learning that extra high level of accountability, because you got to be able to be depended on. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not a guy who's making 20 plus something million a year, you're going to be a guy who's coming in on a pitch count. So you got certain stuff that you need to do, be able to execute on certain times. You get what I'm saying? And so that's the biggest thing I've learned with it. And then just embracing that, and also just, embracing role playing and finding that role as I'm carving those things out. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned. And that's what's helped me the most as a guy who's been undrafted, guy who hasn't really played as much as I feel like I should. But I'm always constantly in that, space and place to be able to have that opportunity. And I think that says a lot about just me and how I go about my work and what I'm able to do. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of guys' lifespan in the NFL is nearly not that long, especially, given the circumstances. So I think that kind of speaks to it as well.
Okay.
You got your cup of coffee, so to speak. I don't know what they call it in the NFL, to be honest. So they call it in baseball with the Texans, right?
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to really enjoy it? I mean, sit back and go, wow, this is real, big lights.
Yeah, man. Houston was fun. And Houston was also a hard time for me, just to be completely honest, because, that was a time and a place where, you know, I felt like I pressed every single right button. And I think it was kind of a situation too where I had I was hurt by the business of the game. I think I would have never even been on practice squad for that team. I was dealing with a situation at the time too where Deshaun Watson he had a roster spot on that team where we only carried 5 receivers. I felt like I had done more than enough. And I think even we had these conversations within the Texas that I would have been that 6th receiver there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I kind of had to deal with that in the brunt of the time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, from the outside looking in, people wouldn't know that. But those are some of the things that can happen. You get what I'm saying? As far as being on a 53-man roster and stuff like that. But now Houston really tested me as far as being able to, you know, to do everything I knew I could have done, and also continue to doing that as things had to kind of work itself out later in the year and stuff. So yeah, that was the biggest thing with Houston. But no, it was great time. End up, man, that was probably one of the funnest teams I've been on. One of the best locker room accumulations of guys who really just like enjoyed it. And on a team where we kind of struggled just to win games, but it was cool to see how we stayed together. So it was cool to be in a situation like that. And then, man, it was just, you know, great to be there because now I wouldn't even be where I am now. Like just having the relationship I have with my guy Brandon and him mentoring me and helping me with everything. Like I wouldn't have that if I wasn't there with the Houston Texans. So a bunch of great things happened that came out of that, even though I felt like I should have been really playing a lot more. But it all ended up being a great just training lesson and ready me, preparing me for now, honestly. So yeah, it was great. I loved Houston, loved the city, loved the team. So Houston was a great time for sure.
Where were you on draft day, January 1st, 2023, when you were drafted by our Seattle Sea Dragons?
Where was I? I was in Portland, Oregon training. And when Randy hit me, he told me that we drafted you, buddy. That's the exact text that he sent me. Randy told me, and then Jim ended up calling me. Coach Haslett ended up calling a little bit later on and let me know, like, hey, just talking to him, wanted to introduce himself. But yeah, I was actually in Portland. I was training, and it was kind of cold at that time too. I think it was the cold winds coming through there. That was really cold. But I was training out of Portland, doing my thing, and then they ended up telling me, and that's when I had to kind of get ready for that transition to go to training camp in Dallas. So yeah, after that, I kind of knew once I did that and I committed and I put my name in the hat, so I knew what I was getting ready to go up against and go into. So great decision though so far, I would say. So yeah, but that's where I was at on when I was drafted in January. Yeah, I was back in Portland.
Awesome. I got to ask, what's it like playing for NFL legends, Rennie Miller, Jim Haslett, June Jones? I mean, you got lot of history there. I mean, what's it like playing for them?
Man, it's been cool for me, and I don't know if everybody kind of just being able to take it for what it is. It's more maybe as I do because I really love ball. It is so cool to be in a space and place with someone who has created something. It's so rarely you get to see and be around a person who has created something and has pioneered it. So it's been so cool to be under June Jones and also work on a great part of my game that I've always wanted to work on as far as my vertical threat and being able to run vertically. I've been able to be immensely better there. And I feel like I've added another tool to my belt being here. And I think those are the things that you kind of got to keep in mind when you are doing these things, man. But being under June to see how he created something and molded and is the true, just being able to take it from Mouse and all those guys that he always talks about. It's like being, like you said, it's like being in his history lesson every day. The things he tells us, because it's like, I tell people this all the time, man. It's like experiential knowledge is greater than anything. That's like the greatest thing you can have. Because once you've been through something, you've done it. It's like, you know it. And to hear from the person who's done it, who's seen it, who's been there, who's seen it, it's really cool to be able to take that from, because I feel like it's kind of the most purest form of it. You got things that go down the line and get passed off. So it's been cool to be under June, man, and learn from those guys and see how dominant they were in Hawaii to SMU and all these great players that they developed. And just, it's been an honor to be one of those guys who's, been able to come in and, be able to execute his offense at a high level and dominate it for him. So it's been good, man. I love it being under Randy and all those guys. And then I think that's one of the biggest parts of Randy just being here too is his experience and how we run things here. It hasn't been a crazy transition for me because these are guys who've been at the highest level, also including with Jim. Jim is a guy who played a 10-year career in the NFL. So it's like you're not talking or taking advice from guys who haven't done it. And that's huge in our space and place. You got to get a lot of guys who don't, they want to bat an eye on someone who maybe hasn't done it. So it's cool to be able to be in a space and place where we're being treated like guys at the highest level because that's all they've done, that's all they've known. So man, it's been great, man. It's been like you said, a true history lesson. It's been cool to be around everybody from different spaces and places, and how we've kind of made this, melting pot of great coaches and great assistant coaches and guys and people who've been in these different spaces and places won at the highest level. So yeah, man, it's been great.
Nice.
Yeah, we love Randy ourselves. He's a friend of the show. We've had him on before. Just really fun to chat with at any time. Very approachable guy. But I wanted to ask you, as big fans, obviously, of your team, we noticed right away how talented the roster and how deep the roster was. But you guys seem to have some trouble really kind of clicking there in the beginning. How did you guys face that and overcome, and really gel as a team?
And I think we're still doing that. And everything, it's a process. And when you get in moments and situations like this, it's all about who's playing the best. And I feel like we're coming together at the right times. It's especially with offenses. Offenses is always going to have the time to get going and figure out each other. We got guys like me and Josh running on the outside. Like, we played at the highest level, and Josh is a freak in his own nature, him doing what he does, and me, like, we're guys who are big and we can really run. You get what I'm saying? So it's like getting used to that for me, him, and Ben, and then the guys on the inside just getting on that timing. And also, it is the run and shoot is different. It's if you played in all these pro style offenses, which we have been doing for the past 5 to 6 years, and so it is a switch up and a change up, just getting used to the footwork, the timing. It is different nuances that come with it. So offenses, I think that it always takes time to gel. But like we all know, the cream always rises to the top. And as things get going and guys get, better timing and better, just understanding of each other, just like we were talking about earlier with just, that quarterback and that passer and that catcher relationship, I think things just go about. And also, just say this too, I'll just to say how we've been able to survive it. I have to give it to the defense. Our defense has been playing lights out. And some of those guys over there, I was in camps with and just playing on teams with Chris Jones. Me and those guys were together. Quinterio Cole. It's great to see all those guys make plays because those are guys I was with in Vegas recently too. So it's like we have a great dichotomy on defense that's kind of been our backbone. As we've been getting things figured out offensively and get on the right page, the defense has it. They've been but not breaking, and that's what you want. And at the end of the day, look, we're in this thing to win it, and that's what we said from the beginning. And I know this. Look, I'm a guy. I play offense, but I'll tell you this: I've been playing football for forever, and this one thing I've always known: defense wins championships. And I'm an offensive guy, and I understand that, and I know that, and that's something that you always want to have if you want to, in the end, win everything. So I think that's been the best part of it, as far as what's held us together. Just the accumulation of both things, just getting it going on offense, which takes time, and now we're playing. I feel like we're peaking here at the right time, and then there's a defense that can weather the storm for you. So yeah.
Awesome. I got to ask, who's the locker room leader in your opinion? Is it Ben? Is it you? Who's the locker room leader on your team?
I feel like we have I think, man, we actually do really good with it. We have a leadership committee.
Okay.
There'll probably be and it all depends on what we need and what we need to hear at the moment in time from me, from Ben to me. Another guy that we love, man, Daniel. Daniel's a great, high energy guy, can get us going. Him. What's it called? Jim. Jim does great, and Randy. Randy does a great job of reeling us in too, and just hearing it, because at the highest level too, it's rare that you hear from the guys that's in the front office as much. You talk to your GM, they're around you, they see you, they're evaluating everything, but rarely do they, just come and take the front seat and just give a whatever the team needs to hear at the moment in time to be at our best. So yeah, man, we have a true leadership committee, and that's been the good part about it. And I think that's how it always should be. I think true leaders too can lead from the front and the back. You get what I'm saying? Yep. It's all about what the team needs in the moment in time. So we do a good job of switching it off and just feeling out the vibe. But I would say, yeah, for sure, it's leadership by committee.
That's awesome. Well said. You guys could be. You're so close to being 10-0 this season. I mean, I know it is what it is.
Who you telling? Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, man. Yeah. That second one, I was sick about that second one. I thought I had the game winner, that big one in the back of the end zone against Seattle. But hey, I think it's going to come. And also just the one in DC with losing on the 1 yard line. Those are, great things to have burning inside you when you get to speak to those things again. You get what I'm saying? When you get a chance and
Absolutely.
opportunity to be able to speak to those things again, it's great, to have those. Like, I'm a guy, I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I look for edges anywhere I can find them. If anybody gives me a competitive edge, I'm gonna take it because I'm very competitive, and that's it helps me to be able to do my job at a high level. So I do look. If people tell you they don't, some people don't, but me personally, I love edges. Any edge I can get, anything I think about, I take it. So, and I feel like it can help you be at a competitive advantage. But yeah, man, we could have easily been where at 10-0, but it's something about just going into a place and taking it over too. I mean, I really enjoy that. I really do it, and that was fun, man. I was just telling guys too, even before that game started. It's so cool to go play in St. Louis. I was really excited about that game too, because I knew I was going to a place that was kind of, just a little nostalgic, magical place, man. When you go in there, it's just like, wow, some crazy stuff probably happening here that nobody knows of because the team hasn't been there so long. But just like from, the guys, the Greatest Show on Turf, all those guys were there playing in there. It's like you can feel it. You can see it when you go in and you walk in it. It's real cool. And just to have those guys being there from like 35,000 packed out, man, that was such a fun game. And I love those moments. I love being able to go in there because I feel like, as competitors, high level competitors, those are the moments and times where you really have to show up. And so those games I really enjoy. So I think we're going to have some parallels in that tomorrow, even though it's going to probably be some rain. Maybe the conditions might not be as good as we would hope. I feel really good about us and our mindset on what we're coming here to do and how we're going to try to, leave here victorious. So yeah, man, I think it's all going to work out to be, what's best for us as far as like just those losses and being able to come back and basically being able to come back and just like revenge them and get that vengeance on it. So it's gonna be a fun one, man. It's gonna be a fun game.
I have to ask our usual co-host Abraham Deweese he wants to know, and he's gonna make me ask this. Have you met The Rock?
Met The Rock at the first. We had basically a big event when we first got there. So I met him in Dallas at Choctaw Stadium. We had a big event, so it was cool to see him. Kind of cool to see like a larger than life image of a guy. He Rock's a great entertainer, so it's cool to see him in his actual just normalness in his light too. But he's still even in his just that he was still The Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, we met him there, man. He was a cool guy, man. It was very down to earth. It was cool to be around him, just hear from him and the co-chairman and Danny Garcia. So it was a great time. But yeah, man, The Rock is definitely The Rock. If I could give it any just the best analogy for him. But no, great guy. But yeah, we met him down there in Dallas.
Awesome. We have so many other questions we want to ask, but we're near the end. But
No,
I got to ask this. It's a two-part question. One, how did practice go today? And number two, is that stupid snake going to be there tomorrow? Or can you guys, when you or Josh Gordon scores a touchdown, can you throw a ball in the stands and break up that snake? I mean, I don't want to see that.
Man, Brian, I actually love the snake. I love when they into it, man. I love when they do throwing the lemons. It's just something about just going to somebody else's place and just taking it over. And it's because it feels even better when you make them stop, when they stop drinking the beer and the lemonades, and it's nothing to celebrate. So that's even better about it. But practice went great this week. We had a good focus, man. And it's the best thing that we've learned is and that's something that we've gotten better and better at, just all guys, on the same page, practicing like professionals and practicing like pros, and also at the end of the day, just keeping the main thing, and going to doing this business as usual. So that's been a great part. So practice was good, man. We had some rain, but we ended up, adjusting because that's what the great ones do. Great ones adjust. So they do that. So we were indoors practicing, and some of you got that done. And so now, man, if we're ready for the snake and the lemons. We're ready for it all this time. So it's gonna be a good game. Man. I'm excited about it.
Right on.
My final question. It sounds like the XFL has been a positive experience for you, but looking regardless of what happens tomorrow or later in the championship game, if we get there, knocking on wood. I don't want to jinx anything. Do you see yourself playing again next year if you get the opportunity? If the Seahawks don't come calling, which I hope they will, but
man, we'll see. And I can't give any promises on it. My thing is when I made the choice and decision to do this, I made the choice. I know I was gonna play. I was gonna err on playing 12 games in the spring, and I was gonna err on playing 17 in the fall. and in the winter. And so the only way that's gonna happen for me is if I go and do what I gotta do. So that's been on my goal sheet. And also just understand too that when I made that decision that it was gonna be a marathon. And so you know, I can't necessarily I'm big in the moment guy, you know what I'm saying? But if all goes well, then I have no plans to be. I've always prepared to be at the highest level, not to have a knock on the exit for anything. Man, can't even tell you how much I'm appreciative of how the opportunity that it's been presented. And I think it's going to be, I love it for guys who are in my situation, guys who are in different, maybe a little bit more peculiar or different ones. Man, it's something that's needed. You got something that's, the nucleus of it is so small and it's such a 1%er thing. And you have guys who kind of can be those outliers, who can be on the outside looking in, but necessarily should have a foot in the door or be inside, you know. So I think it's a great opportunity for guys to be able to go and showcase, you know, their skills and also at a high level. And that's so important. I always say that because it's like, you know, if you're doing it and it's just, you know, is it going to translate? It don't matter. I think it's great because we're actually playing good football. You know, these are two teams that are going to play that are playing good football. At the end of the day, no matter how you slice it and break it down, and the concepts will translate. The defense we're playing against is led by a guy and an NFL guy who's been in there for years, and Greg Williams. You get what I'm saying? So we all have parallels here that are going to help push us into what's next. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I feel like, man, this has been great. I've absolutely loved being in Seattle. And that's one thing that if I do have to do it, I would only play for this team. So I wouldn't be anywhere else because I love being in the Pacific Northwest, man. So yeah, that's for sure would be my take on that. But yeah, man, XFL has been great. Everything about it, man. I think it's gonna be wonderful weekend. I'm excited to kind of watch this game that's coming up tonight. So it's gonna be fun, guys. We're gonna be May 13th. We plan on being in that Alamo Dome, and it's always good when you can win something. Rarely do people win things, and like, you know, state championships, national championships at whatever level. It doesn't matter. You know, Pee Wee Football League championships. You know, things have to go your way. You got to have certain amounts of luck. You got to have certain amounts of breaks, certain amounts of just dichotomies that come into place where you have to win and can't lose. So when you have that opportunity, you really want to seize it. And I feel like we have a team who understands that. And no matter what level it's always great be able to punctuate something like that, you know, because it's not easy. No matter where you're doing it or where it's at, well, it's not easy. Finishing and getting the job done and winning and all is one of the hardest things you can do. And that, I think that's in every parallel in life. And, you know, that ain't just about football. You know, the finish is the biggest thing. And so I feel like we're at a real good case in point. We got a good case point, and we all understand that. And when you understand it, you can live in the moment of it and you can go seize it when the opportunity comes. So that's the plan. But yeah, we'll see, man. Hopefully we're back up on in the left side of the Pacific Northwest. I don't mind it. I love the rain. I don't mind it one bit, man. It was fun, man. I just had to share this story. It was cool. I was with me and my girl. We were up in Seattle, and this was my off season after being in Houston, getting ready to go to Vegas. We had went to Seattle just for a little quick trip before OTAs, and I was funny. It was because we're on the Ferris wheel down there over there by Pike Place. So we're on the Ferris wheel, we're chilling. And I was just talking to her, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to play in that stadium. And, you know, just had a little quick prayer, just asking, you know, just saying that over myself and just kind of just bringing in the affirmation. Didn't know how it was going to, didn't know what happened in this way, but, you know, hindsight and just going later, a few months later, and now I've been able to go play in Lumen and make some great plays there. And it's been fun because it does feel like home. It does feel natural. It feels good. And it was cool to be in it too, because it was like, man, a lot of people and guys will be in that situation, in that place, never been to the Pacific Northwest, never dealt with the parameters of it, maybe, especially as a receiver, but I had been training in it the whole offseason. You get what I'm saying? So it's cool when we had those really cold games. It was cool when we had those rain games. It was like, oh, well, I'm used to this. I've done, you get what I'm saying? And it was cool to think how I, you know, kind of imagined something earlier and spoke it to, you know, kind of spoke it into existence, and then it be able to come how it came. And so, man, it's been great, man. But yeah, we'll see, man. Hopefully we can figure something out here and we go from there with it, man. And yeah, we just they drafted good, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, they drafted good. So they're in the it's a cool. it's a cool spot to be able to see the people in the Pacific Northwest, how much they love that team. And that's something I can relate to as a guy from the South and see how much people love football. So it's really cool to be in a space and places where you see people who really enjoy it and really love it and support it. And those guys, they did great from just, standpoint of putting their team in a position with free agents and also just, draft picks and stuff like that. So if the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to jump on it for sure.
Nice.
All right. Well, we're nearing the end of our show here. We usually have to do some shout outs, giving any kind of call out to a friend or family or kind of event or anything like that you want to share. We'll start with Brian. Why don't you go ahead?
I'm going to change my shout out. I'm going to give a shout out to my mom and to my wonderful wife, Janine. In 2 weeks on the 13th, it is Mother's Day, but I told them if we make the finals, Sea Dragons, and we will, Mother's Day will be put on hold so I can watch this game. So I love you both, but I appreciate you understanding.
Moms are getting delayed.
We're going to send some postcards. It'll be all good. And look, it's always the day after. It's usually Mother's Day weekend. What day is it on this week? What day is it on this year?
It's on a Sunday.
It's a second
Sunday. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, all good. We can,
you got any shout outs?
We'll give her a present. A great. Yeah, man. I was thinking about that. My shout out is going to be to Chris Smith and his family, his loved ones, man, just to let you guys know and all those guys, let them know that we're playing for him. He's with us, and we're going to try to go and get this thing done in his memory and for him. So, yeah, shout out to Chris and his people, and his loved one, his kids, his mother, his children, everybody. Just let them know, like, they're in our hearts. So we're going to get it done.
Amen.
Yeah, and I'm just going to take the easy way out. I'm going to say go Sea Dragons. The whole city's behind you. We're excited to watch tomorrow. Can't wait. Absolutely. Where can anyone find you? Do you have social media accounts? Anyone?
Yeah, man. My Twitter is at the Jordan Veasy. Yes, the Jordan Veasy. And then my Instagram is JVeasy_, man, on Instagram. You guys catch me on there, man. Give me a follow, man. I was wondering this too. I think we have the best uniforms of all Seattle teams. Would you guys agree? I think we have helmets. Look, we were scared at first, but when we seen that all orange last week, we were like, I don't know, man. It looked good. It looked good. But yeah, man, follow me on those, man. And man, we appreciate you guys. And it's been great to be able to go on this ride with y'all, man, and have y'all support us. It's so much other things y'all can support in Seattle, because it's a great sports city. First of all, is what do you don't have besides the Supersonics, which they'll be back. But it's cool to be able to be there, man, and share that with you guys, and be able to have football year round in a place that really deserves you. So, man, we appreciate you guys, man. And it's been fun, man. It's been a fun ride.
And that reminds me, Brian, before the show, you were telling me there was a slogan with his name, the commentator.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard this before, Jordan. Maybe you have, but when the ESPN announcers kept saying in one of the games, it ain't easy being Veasy. So
it ain't easy being Veasy. Oh, man.
I don't know if you heard that.
It's funny.
Sorry.
I've actually heard that a lot. No, you're good. That's actually a commonality. Like, people will come up to me, like, I have actual coaches. They won't even say my last name. Like, it ain't easy. That's their conversation. So that's actually the thing, man. So, yeah, man, it's cool to be able to have guys, be able to remember and have that moniker, So hopefully we can keep it going here in that Seattle area, man. It's I love it, man. It's been good, but no, it ain't easy. Just to let them know it ain't.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jordan, for joining us. Everyone catch him tomorrow, Sunday, XFL playoffs, and hopefully in the XFL championship game. Check us out. This has been the Seattle Sports Union podcast. Check us out at seattlesportsunion.com. Podcasts on Spotify, Apple, where your main podcasts are found. And I think you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter. You can like us. I think we're likable people. But this has been for Brian, the Soulman Solack, and for me, Matt Page, the Dirty Duck, apparently. They have a great day, guys. Thanks for listening.
Go Sea Dragons.
Go Sea Dragons.
Yeah.